Just 1 hour ago, Buckingham Palace confirmed what many feared. Prince William is stepping back from royal duties due to serious health issues. The statement was brief, but the impact was instant. Behind those 4 lines lies a heartbreaking story the public was never meant to see until notice. The statement that shattered silence. The entire country was drifting through a normal morning when Buckingham Palace did something it almost never does. It released a statement with no warning, no leaks, no polite build-up. At 10 a.m. sharp, 4 blunt sentences appeared on the royal communications feed. No crest, no introduction, just words that felt colder than the January air outside. The Prince of Wales will be stepping back from public duties indefinitely due to serious health challenges. That was it. 4 lines, 1 bombshell, and more questions than answers. Inside the palace, the moment the statement dropped, everything stopped. Aides who had served the royal family for 20, 30, even 40 years froze mid-step. Some clutched their folders. Others looked at each other with wide, unspoken fear. Because this wasn't a carefully crafted health update. This wasn't the soft language normally used for royal vulnerabilities. This was abrupt, stark, the kind of message used only when the situation behind the scenes is spiraling faster than the palace can manage. Outside, the reaction was instant. Within 2 minutes, the internet exploded. Serious health challenges became the phrase of the hour. Newsrooms scrambled, anchors were pulled into studios early, and royal experts rushed onto live broadcasts with nothing but guesses. Millions of people read the same 4 sentences and felt the same tightening in their chest. If the palace was speaking like this, then whatever was happening to Prince William was not ordinary. And yet, the most unsettling part wasn't what the palace said. It was what they refused to say. No diagnosis, no explanation, no reassurance, not even a mention of Catherine. The silence around her fed the panic even more. Behind those stone palace walls, something far more tragic was unfolding. Something not even the most seasoned royal reporter could imagine. A secret that had been growing quietly for days. A crisis that had already taken the Wales family to a place they had never been before. A crossroads where titles meant nothing, and fear was the only thing anyone could feel. But the public didn't know that yet. All they had was a 4-sentence statement and a sense that the monarchy had just stepped into a storm no one was prepared for. And the truth behind that statement began 48 hours earlier, when William walked into what should have been a routine appointment and walked out with his life changed forever. The 48 hours that changed everything. It started quietly, without drama, without sirens, just a normal medical checkup William had scheduled weeks earlier. But the first sign that something was wrong wasn't medical at all. It was Catherine. She insisted on driving him herself. No security convoy, no royal driver. Just the 2 of them in a dark SUV slipping out of Windsor at sunrise. And that alone sent a message to those who noticed. Something was already worrying her. The appointment was supposed to last 90 minutes. Simple tests, routine scans, nothing unusual. But after an hour passed, then 2, then 3, palace staff waiting for updates began to feel dread creeping in. Doctors kept calling for repeat imaging, more blood work, additional specialists. William, usually patient and calm, grew quieter with every passing hour. By the time he stepped into the consultation room for the final briefing, the clock had passed 4 hours. Catherine sat beside him, gripping her sleeves, trying to stay composed. The doctor didn't delay. He didn't soften the words. He went straight to the truth, because there was no gentle way to land it. Degenerative, progressive, long-term decline. Words that hit harder than any headline ever printed about William in his entire life. Catherine didn't cry loudly. She didn't gasp. She simply lowered her head, tears falling soundlessly onto the sleeve of her coat. William sat still, jaw locked, hands pressed so tightly together that Catherine reached to stop him. She worried he'd break his own fingers from the strain. For the next hour, they listened to treatment options, timelines, and unknowns. Every sentence carried weight. Every answer hurt. And when they finally walked out of the clinic, nothing in their world was the same. William tried to steady himself. Catherine clung to his arm. And for the first time in their marriage, William whispered a sentence she had never heard from him before. "I don't know what happens next." But fate wasn't done with them, because less than 24 hours later, Catherine's own health crisis exploded, turning their private nightmare into something even darker. A double blow no royal couple had ever faced at the same time. And that was only the beginning. Catherine's collapse, a second blow. The morning after William's diagnosis, the couple stayed quiet. No staff were briefed. No changes were made to schedules. They tried to pretend, for their children, for the cameras, even for themselves, that everything was normal. But by sunrise, Catherine couldn't stand up. At first, she thought it was just fatigue, a lingering ache in her lower back. Then came the stabbing pain, deep, sharp, radiating into her legs. She tried to walk, but collapsed onto the bathroom floor. William ran to her side, heart pounding, voice trembling as he called for help. Emergency physicians were rushed to Adelaide Cottage under the strictest confidentiality. No ambulance, no flashing lights, only blacked-out vehicles and guarded entry points. The doctors examined her quickly, and what they found changed everything. Her condition, long managed quietly with medication and routine monitoring, had accelerated. Suddenly, aggressively. William sat silently at the foot of the bed as the doctors spoke in hushed tones. The options were limited. Treatment had to begin immediately. Pain management, possible procedures, isolation from stress. She needed round-the-clock care, and he needed to be there for her. But William wasn't whole anymore. He was still reeling from his own devastating prognosis, trying to process the reality of his future. And now, the woman he called his strength, his center, was falling too. He didn't speak for nearly half an hour, just sat in the chair, staring at the floor. The palace phone rang twice. He didn't answer. For the first time in years, he didn't know how to lead. He couldn't think like a prince. He was only a husband, a father, a man watching the love of his life disappear under a weight neither of them had the strength to carry anymore. By nightfall, Adelaide Cottage was in lockdown, not by orders, but by emotion. The royal family's most admired couple was now facing parallel battles inside the same walls. Both ill, both vulnerable, both hiding the truth from the world. The photos from that day show nothing unusual. A Range Rover pulling into the gates. A staff member carrying groceries. But behind the curtains, the Wales family was entering a chapter darker than any the monarchy had faced in years. And as staff gathered quietly downstairs, they asked a question no one dared speak aloud. What happens to the crown if it loses both of them? The Emergency Palace Summit. By the next morning, The situation could no longer be contained. William and Catherine were both under medical care. The children were still asleep. And inside Buckingham Palace, a royal emergency was quietly underway. A private meeting was called. 12 senior palace officials, handpicked by the king's closest advisor, summoned to Sandringham by secure line. The message was short. No phones, no aides, just you. When they arrived, the air was stiff. The blinds were drawn. The table was cleared. William stood at the head, not in uniform, not smiling, but cold-faced and controlled. He didn't waste time. He read the diagnosis out loud. His, then Catherine's. Every word clipped, emotionless. It was the only way he could get through it. "This is not sustainable," he said. "You need a plan that does not include us." The room was silent. Then, halfway through the debriefing, King Charles entered. No announcement, no pageantry, just a father walking in, hearing what no father should ever have to hear. For the first few minutes, he stood. Then he sat. Then, quietly, without ceremony, he cried. The monarch wept. It wasn't just the heir and his wife who were ill. It was the future of the monarchy, crumbling under the weight of 2 diagnoses. For 6 hours, the room shifted between legal options, public narrative management, succession contingencies, and most of all, how to tell the world something without really telling them anything. In the end, one decision was made: issue a statement, but give them almost nothing. No diagnosis, no details, no updates. Just 4 sentences that could cover everything, while revealing nothing. They would protect the couple's privacy. But behind that privacy, a storm was still raging. And no one, not even the king, knew if either of them would come out the other side of it. The world reacts, but the palace remains silent. At exactly 10:01 a.m., the palace posted the statement across all official platforms. No fanfare, no photo, just 4 lines on a blank royal background. The Prince of Wales will be stepping back from royal duties due to serious health challenges. We ask for privacy as His Royal Highness focuses on recovery. No further details will be shared at this time. It was clear, vague, and devastating. The media reaction was immediate. Within 3 minutes, hashtags like #PrayForWilliam, #RoyalHealthCrisis, and #WhereIsKate were trending worldwide. News anchors scrambled to fill airtime. Headlines screamed mystery illness and future of the monarchy in doubt. What shook everyone even more was what wasn't said. No mention of Catherine, no appearance from King Charles, no press conference, no video message, just the coldness of text. 4 lines that said everything and nothing. Even palace insiders were in the dark. Staff at Kensington Palace and Clarence House reportedly found out at the same time as the public. Aides tried to get clarification. None came. Emails bounced back with auto-replies. No comment available at this time. Meanwhile, reporters outside Adelaide Cottage began picking up odd signals. No activity. No comings or goings. No familiar vehicles. A delivery driver left without even ringing the bell. Guards took the package. Inside, William and Catherine weren't thinking about headlines. They were preparing for a far more painful task, telling their children. The world outside was spiraling, but inside the walls of Adelaide, the most delicate moment of their lives was about to unfold. Telling the children the unthinkable. At 2 p.m., a private call was made to Lambrook School. William didn't want to wait. If the news was already public, the children had to hear it from him, not classmates, not the internet. A black SUV arrived at the school just before 3. No royal flag, no cameras. George, Charlotte, and Louis stepped in quietly, confused by the change in routine. The drive back was silent. When they arrived, the 3 children were brought into the sitting room. No nannies, no aides, just William and Catherine, visibly pale, visibly tired. Catherine knelt down first. "We need to tell you something important," she said softly. George's eyes scanned their faces. Charlotte held Louis's hand. William took a deep breath and spoke the hardest words he's ever said. "We're sick, both of us, and we'll be home more now." For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. Then George asked, "Are you dying?" William froze. Catherine's hand moved to her face, her composure breaking. He didn't answer right away, because the truth, the full truth, was too much. But the lie felt cruel, so he gave them the only words he could manage. "We're doing everything we can to get better, but we need your help. We need your love." It wasn't a full answer, but it was honest enough. Charlotte cried quietly. Louis asked if they could still play outside. George just stared at the floor, older than his years. The family stayed like that for a long time. No more words, just holding each other. Later that night, William walked into the hallway and whispered to a guard, "They know. Don't let anyone ask them questions." Because now, the battle wasn't just medical. It was emotional, parental, and it had only just begun. The secret William kept from everyone. While the palace fought to control the narrative, Prince William was secretly planning something else, something no one, not even Catherine, knew. Doctors had been clear. The standard treatment would slow the illness, but not stop it. His condition was degenerative, progressive, serious, and within 18 to 24 months, he'd lose the ability to carry out royal duties entirely. At best, he'd stabilize. At worst, he'd fade, slowly, painfully, and in full public view. Then came a third option. A private physician mentioned an experimental treatment being trialed in Switzerland. Aggressive, high risk, and only available to a handful of patients. The side effects were severe. The success rate? Less than 20%. But if it worked, it could buy him time. Real time. The idea gripped William instantly, not because he feared death, but because he feared what his slow decline would do to Kate, to the children, to the monarchy. So he made a decision. He would go. The palace would announce he was resting, a pre-planned break from duties. Meanwhile, he'd leave the country under medical cover. He booked everything himself, signed the paperwork, arranged the transport, and kept it hidden from everyone, even Catherine. He knew what it would look like. "You were going to disappear?" she'd say later. But at the time, he convinced himself it was better to protect her from the fear, from the possibility it wouldn't work. The plan was set for 10 days later. He would vanish quietly. No announcement, no updates. He wasn't seeking a miracle. He just wanted one more year. But there was one person who sensed the truth, long before anyone else. The father-son confrontation. King Charles had always believed in duty first. He'd seen his own life reshaped by it. Weddings, heartbreaks, public failures, all of it packaged neatly behind press statements and public smiles. But in recent years, he'd begun to understand something deeper, that no title could truly shield a person from fear. And when he looked into William's eyes, he saw it again. Something he had once seen in his own reflection. decades ago. It was a quiet afternoon, unscheduled, unannounced. Charles had arrived at Adelaide Cottage without his security detail, his coat folded over one arm. He said he simply happened to be in the area, but everyone knew he had come for one reason only. He wanted to look his son in the eye. And when William opened the door, Charles saw it instantly. The air was thinner, paler. He moved slower. His voice was flat, his eyes dull. He wasn't the man who had been leading climate panels and shaking hands across the Commonwealth just a month earlier. He was a man standing at the edge of a decision he couldn't undo. They sat in the small back room. No aides, no butlers, no protocol. Just father and son. Charles sipped tea. William didn't touch his. After a long pause, Charles asked it quietly, like a casual check-in. "Are you going somewhere?" William didn't answer at first. He looked out the window, then down at the floor. Then he nodded. And with that, the dam broke. William told him everything. No filters, no rehearsed phrases. He laid it all out. The shocking diagnosis, the prognosis, the limited treatment options in the UK, the Swiss clinic, the experimental procedure, the risk of death. And worst of all, the plan to leave in secret. No public explanation, not even a warning to Catherine. Charles didn't interrupt. He listened with his hands folded tightly, jaw clenched. He didn't cry. He didn't lash out. When William finished, the room fell silent. Then Charles said one sentence, low, heavy, and filled with something no press release could ever capture. "If you die, how do I explain it to your children?" The words hit like a blow. William didn't respond. Because he couldn't. He had thought about everything, the risk, the escape, the pressure. But he hadn't thought about that. About George, Charlotte, and Louis being told their father was gone, without goodbye, without explanation. Finally, after a long pause, Charles leaned forward. And this time he didn't speak as the monarch. He spoke as a father. "You don't leave until you've told Catherine. All of it." William didn't fight it. He didn't argue. He nodded. Not because he wanted to. The conversation he was about to have would tear through everything he and Catherine had built. But because he knew. He owed her the truth. And it would become the hardest conversation of his life. The conversation that nearly broke them. It happened in their bedroom. No staff, no doctors, no royal silence left between them. 10 days before William was set to leave for Switzerland, he told Catherine everything. Not part of it, all of it. The diagnosis, the prognosis, the secret plan, the risk of death. At first, she said nothing. Then came the silence that felt longer than any words could. Finally, she spoke, her voice cold, her body trembling. "You were going to leave without telling me?" He tried to explain that he was protecting her, that he didn't want her to live with the anxiety if the treatment failed. But the words sounded hollow, even to him. "You were going to disappear," she repeated, almost to herself. "Not a soldier, not a prince, a husband, a father, and I'd be left to explain it to our children?" Her voice cracked. Then the pain gave way to fury. She stood up, pushed the chair back, punched her hands against her thighs. It wasn't about the illness, it was about the betrayal. For hours, they argued, not about love, there was no doubt of that, but about trust. The foundation of their marriage was shaking. Both were wounded. Both were afraid. And now, They had no more strength left to hide it. At one point, Catherine whispered, "Don't you dare face death without letting me stand beside you." That changed everything. William broke. He fell to the floor and sobbed into her lap, and she, despite everything, placed her hand on his head. By dawn, she had made her choice. "Then I need to speak to your doctors. If you're going, I'm going too." She wouldn't let him fight this battle alone, not now, not ever. The final twist, and the return home. Switzerland, a private, heavily guarded medical facility hidden in the Alps. Cold air, distant mountains, and silence so deep it almost swallowed time. It was nothing like Windsor. No pageantry, no protocol. Just white walls, locked doors, and uncertainty. Prince William arrived under a false name. No titles, no escorts. Just a man fighting for more life than the doctors said he'd likely have. Catherine stayed nearby, in a secured chalet just a few minutes away. She barely slept. Every morning, she sat at his bedside wrapped in hospital gowns, breathing through masks, watching monitors beep out the rhythm of her world. The treatment began immediately. It was aggressive. Experimental stem cell therapy combined with immune shock treatments, monitored hourly. By day 2, William was unrecognizable. His skin turned gray. He stopped speaking. The seizures began on day 3. A fever spiked to 104. He lost sight for hours at a time. Doctors prepared Catherine for the worst. She never left his side. Even as he slipped in and out of consciousness, she held his hand and whispered memories into his ear. Their wedding day, George's first laugh, Charlotte's stubborn smile, Louis's endless questions. It was the only language she had left. Then came day 6. A nurse called Catherine at dawn. Just 5 words. "Come now, something's happened." She ran through the corridor, heart racing, legs shaking beneath her. She expected alarms, flat lines, a team waiting outside the room with solemn eyes. Her hand trembled on the door handle, but when she pushed it open, he was sitting up, barely, pale, thinner, drained, but breathing, awake, and staring straight at her. Her knees buckled. She rushed to him, unable to stop the tears. He whispered the first words he'd spoken in days. "You're still here." The doctors were stunned. The treatment hadn't cured him, but it had done the impossible. Stopped the progression. Not reversed, but frozen. A medical pause. Months, they said. Maybe more. A window of time. Time they had nearly lost. Time the palace had already begun planning around. Time to be a family again. By the end of that week, they made the decision. Return home quietly. No public statement. No press. They left Switzerland under the cover of night. No royal aircraft. Just a medical jet, stripped of insignia. When they landed, a single SUV waited to take them back to Adelaide Cottage. It was late afternoon when they arrived. But the moment the car pulled into the gravel driveway, George, Charlotte, and Louis came running, bare feet on stone, their laughter slicing through weeks of silence. William stepped out slowly, still weak, but standing. He dropped to one knee, arms wide, eyes wet, voice shaking. "I'm home," he whispered, "and I'm staying." And in that moment, no one cared about titles, headlines, or royal expectations, because they had been given something far more valuable. Not a guarantee, not a cure, but the one thing they had feared they'd lost forever: time. The palace may have only given 4 lines, but behind them is a storm of fear, love, and sacrifice. As the world waits for answers, one thing is clear. This isn't just a royal update. It's a family fighting for time. And now, nothing inside those gates feels certain anymore.